energy at all. At the same time, there was waste everywhere already. In the rivers, on the farmlands, in the trees, you could find plastic bags. Unfortunately, now more than a decade later, the problem has even gotten worse. We spent a lot of time out here in Southeast Asia, for example. Indonesia is the second largest polluter of plastic waste in the world. And right now, all this waste ends up in the ocean without any kind of treatment. There are no waste treatment systems in many countries all over Southeast Asia. So they dump it out here on the fields, it gets washed during the rainy season into the rivers, and then ends up in the ocean. Some of it comes back on our own beaches, sometimes hundreds of tons per day, or it goes to other beaches or might be floating there for decades to come. It's really hard, though, to turn that waste that changes all the time into something useful. We believe that this is a true breakthrough technology, and the markets are endless. It's more than $1 trillion market opportunity, and the timing is right. With all the new regulations when it comes to carbon reduction in Europe and the United States, we are at the forefront of carbon negative energy. Part of the CO2 stored in that biomass and waste is actually a long time captured in the soil. So it's not just good for the environment getting rid of the waste, it's also storing carbon. And that in a very small footprint that can be installed anywhere in the world, totally modular, scalable, cost-effective, built, made in Germany by our incredible team. But now we want to invite you to join us to bring this breakthrough technology to global markets and build a company. So please check out our offer. Join us on this global impact quest to turn waste into clean energy wherever it's needed. The planet will thank you. We thank you. My name is Julian. I'm the CEO and founder of EX Zero Carbon, and we're looking forward to talk to you in person. Good evening, Julian here, co-founder and CEO of EX Zero Carbon Inc. And I want to thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. We're here in beautiful Canggu, Bali. And this is a very different episode to a certain extent of EX Venture Night, one of the leading clean technology programs in the world right now. So what we're going to be talking about tonight is about waste. We're going to be doing some trash talk up here, and I got my friend Matt Vitamante from KJ who's going to be joining us later for a Q&A. But I want to talk to you about something that's very, very personal to me, and that's very important to our staff. For over 15 years now, we have been working on solutions that turn clean waste and all different kind of waste streams into clean electricity, heating, and cooling. And waste obviously is something that touches every aspect, every facet of our lives. It is one of the biggest challenges of humanity of the 21st century, of how we're going to be closing our carbon loops, how we're going to be more sustainable, how we're going to sustain life on this planet with almost 10 billion people in the future and make it livable for all of us. So this technology we're going to be talking about is really at the core of the solutions we're talking about for a more sustainable future. We have started a race on WeFunder about 2 weeks ago. And we're super excited to welcome 156 new investors to our Zero Carbon team globally. And this is really, truly exciting to us because we set out to do a crowdfunding campaign to get more people involved in creating a solution to the waste problem. And to see your enthusiasm, your questions, the answers we are able to provide, your messages, your Instagram posts, everything else, is for us really a proof that we're onto something truly big, that we're onto something important that resonates with you and that is important to you. And so for the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes, we're going to be talking about waste. And when we talk about waste, we're really talking about a huge global challenge. We live in Southeast Asia, and we are faced by this problem every single day. If you go out on the beach here recently, we had 270 tons of waste just on our local beach. So this is obviously a huge problem because this is only a tiny fraction of all the waste out there in the world. And once it reaches the ocean, it gets very, very complicated and costly to get it back out. So let's make sure it doesn't even end up there. But how are we going to do that? I want to introduce you to EX Zero Carbon and our WeFunder campaign, and we hope that you're going to support us in the future to bring this technology to global markets. At Zero Carbon, We build technology that makes highly efficient, decentralized waste-to-energy conversion possible and profitable anywhere in the world. We're combining impact and profitability. So when we talk about waste, we're not just talking about a problem, we're talking about a huge global market opportunity. There are many different ways to convert waste into clean energy. But I think, and I think a lot of researchers and experts agree, the most effective one is a two-stage approach, and this is what we're doing. We're taking all these different waste streams, and obviously we're not taking this little alarm clock over there because that's based out of minerals, but pretty much everything else over here you can see is made out of carbons. And carbons have calorific value, so you can turn it into other carbon structures, and one of them obviously can be used for energy generation. So our core expertise is in this middle phase. We take all this endless possibility of carbon combination and we turn it into H2, CO, and CH4, methane. So this is a gas that acts a lot like natural gas. You probably heard of natural gas that comes out of, oil wells, and they have the pipelines and everything else. I mean, that is one way of doing it. We're actually much cooler. We're taking your localized waste and we're turning that into a natural gas replacement, into a gas you can use for all the applications you can use natural gas for. And the coolest thing we have ever done after 15 years of development, we're using the solid oxide fuel cells over here that now take the waste, turns it into gas, and this turns it into electricity much more efficient than any steam turbine can, without any noise, without any oil changes, and it's truly super cool. So with this technology, we're looking at like conversion efficiency of over 50%. And what that means is we need a lot less resources to produce the same amount of energy. It's what we call thermal recycling. That means we're turning the waste that we have right now, instead of sending it to a landfill, into another product. Our product is electricity, and that is probably the most efficient way to do it, because you can do it right where you have the waste. You don't need to ship it halfway the world to be refined. So let me give you a few of the key facts about Carbon Zero. We're a multi-award winning company. We have been doing this since 2006. We have been multiple venture funded. We have raised and consolidated over the last decade about $150 million. And that's a long story. You can read up on it on a WeFunder campaign, because obviously very important. But you have to know that we're working on technology that has been, under development for over a decade. And a lot of the investors we have worked with in the past, they just simply ran out of patience. If you look at Kleiner Perkins, for example, 2006, they wanted to do something that's going to revolutionize the globe in 3 to 4 years. In our field, that's really impossible. So we have built as a team over 200 power systems. We know what we're doing. Our engineering is made in Germany, and millions of German government tax dollars are currently going into the development of this breakthrough technology. We're a profitable company, even though very small right now, and we have over $200 million in LOI at this point that we're going to be working on executing in the coming months. So this is kind of where we are right now as a company, but we're kind of limited in our growth capital. And this is why we're talking to you today, because the German government is very generous with us when it comes to R&D, but when it comes to bringing the market out there and producing the machines that we can put in our pilot projects, for example, we are very, very limited. But let's go to the top 10 reasons why our technology is so amazing. First of all, our power systems are super small, so they can be easily transported. The smallest power system we have is the size of a refrigerator, and it has been carried by 4 lab engineers recently into Udayana University here in Bali. So it can be done. It's highly transportable. It's very easy to install. If you look at big size waste to energy systems, you're talking about months and years. This can be done in days. It is more affordable. If you look at a standard size waste to energy system, it's like between $200 and $500 million. Our project started at $50,000, right? So we're in a completely different ballpark. So smaller islands, smaller operations can finally afford their own waste treatment solutions. We are much more efficient and effective effective than any other system out there, using our fuel cells, much more efficient than using a steam turbine, especially on the scale we're talking about. We're more efficient. We're third-party validated, and this is why we're out there right now, because we're just coming out of the university lab in Germany. We are fully German government funded. We are remotely operated. We have ultra-low emissions straight out of the reactor, and we are carbon negative. So this, I think, are the 10 most important facts about our technology you need to know. We're simply smaller, more effective, cost efficient. We can be deployed anywhere in the world. We're transportable. We're, modular. So many good reasons why we came out with what we're doing this. But what is the market we're talking about, and what is the problem? When we talk about waste, we're talking about a global challenge. And if we look at the numbers, if we just even sum this up in the 5 key facts about waste treatment in the world, we are talking about 2 billion tons of solid municipal waste every single year. That is plus all the fluid waste we have, the sewage, sludge, everything else. 2 billion tons per year. And we applaud every company out there that's trying to capture or reduce their carbon emissions. But if we talk about the carbon emissions, or the GHG, greenhouse gas emissions, from solid municipal waste, we're talking an equivalent of 280 billion gallons of diesel a year. So waste is not just something ends up in the landfill, it's gone. Even there, it's still polluting our planet, not just the groundwater, but also emitting massive amount of methane, CO2, and other GHG gases. So this is already bad, and we would love for other people to come in and solve this problem for us, but it's to be estimated that the numbers will go up by 70% by 2050. That means more and more people today are producing more and more waste. And it doesn't just end up in the landfill and kind of ruins our climate. I mean, that would be bad enough. It's also ending up in the ocean. So it's estimated by 2040, that's what National Geographic right now says, that we're going to have 29 million tons of plastic floating in the ocean. And once it's in there, it's going to be in there for decades. Very tough to get out there. But let's not just only focus on the problem, let's also talk about the solution, because we are talking about a true $1 trillion market right now in waste treatment. And that is even before many markets like in Indonesia start paying for their waste, because that is the ultimate challenge. Treating waste, recycling waste, and turning it into something useful is something that will cost money in the future. So we are working on certain waste streams, not all of them, but we can cover quite a lot in this incredible little machine that you can literally carry around. We work on all different kinds of bio-waste. The machine was made for green waste, for straw, for husk, because that's really terrible fuel. And if you go into markets like India, Indonesia, this is the stuff people literally burn in front of their farmhouses. We have to see every single day that we almost get smoked in by this black smoldering smoke that comes out of the farmhouses here where people are burning their rice husk. And it's not just what they're burning the husk, they're also at the same time adding plastics for it, right? So all the waste streams they have, they just kind of using it, they're putting on a big pile and they're burning it. So we work on all these biological waste streams, but we also working on packaging, because that is the real world waste that we have. It's biological waste plus plastics, straws, toothbrushes, whatever you can find, styrofoam, paper, cardboard. There's so much of that. So generally it's about a 75 to 25% mixture of organics and this kind of packaging materials. Good thing is still all of this is carbon. And we're using liquid waste as well. We're doing a project for the German government right now where we're turning sewage sludge into clean energy as well, because sewage sludge is almost bigger than the solid waste problem. That's all the effluent that's produced by our human and animal population on a daily basis. The only waste product we have from this whole thing is something we call biochar. And biochar is really cool because it kind of stores all the minerals and you can bring it back into the soil as a fertilizer. So this fertilizer is super black. So it stores carbon, which makes our technology carbon negative, and at the same time it stores all the minerals. So you're not taking that out of the carbon loop, and you can actually power your plants with it, which is important. Otherwise, you simply have to buy more fertilizers, and that's really not where we want to go. So we're building these small power systems, we're putting on all these different waste streams, and we're converting it into clean energy and biochar. And how are we going to make money of this as a company? We have, I think, a great business model that brings a fast growth to valuation and also is exciting and easy to handle for our customers. We work on a finance, build, and operate model, which we think is probably the best way to go because it's almost like waste treatment and power generation as a service. In that case, we come to your factory, for example. We're turning your waste, instead of paying for it, into something useful. You can use the energy on site, and we give you an immediate saving without the risk and the capital expenditure of investing into this equipment. So we make money long term, and you're saving money long term, so everybody's happy. And we have seen in the past from our experience of building 200 power systems that this is the easiest way for large-scale customers, Fortune 500 companies, for example, to sign on to our business model and let us treat our waste instead of packaging it and shipping it around the globe, because that literally costs a lot of money. So we generate for ourselves long-term profits, fast growth, and we reduce operational risk at the same time because we are running those machineries out there. This creates for us 4 revenue streams at a certain time, and that's the important thing to understand about waste treatment. The electricity generation is only one part of it, but the biggest revenue we are driving from savings on waste disposal and waste trucking. If you can imagine, if you're in the US, for example, and you have some kind of waste stream, you have to get a truck to come to your house, somebody needs to load it on there, they need to drive it around, bring it to a landfill, the landfill is, charges you money. You can get rid of all of this, and we do this for you on site. At the same time, we produce electricity for your business that you can use on site, so you have to buy less coal-powered energy from the grid, for example. There's also something new coming up with CO2 certificates, where we get compensation for the carbon emissions that now with our carbon negative technology we can save over landfilling. And we can provide heating and cooling energy to your business or people around you. So it's really a 4 times winner. It's a multiple revenue stream. And if you look at our number, it's actually a really, really great proposal for our investors as well. So 4 revenue streams, just remember that. I just want to give you one example of how this whole thing can look. And maybe you have never looked at your waste disposal bill for your business, or maybe just don't have a lot of waste. But if you look at the average number, for example, in the UK, we're looking at about $136 per ton to get your waste onto a landfill as a business. And that is quite a lot of money. So our machinery can save you about $75,000 a year just on your waste treatment cost. At the same time, if we can now integrate that fuel cell, we generate about $190,000 worth of electricity that you can use for your business, or we can maybe sell to your neighbor or feed into the grid. At the same time, we're still getting the CO2 emission certificates, which is very fluctuating right now, in their pricing, but they generally go up. And as the US is getting more committed to be part of this kind of carbon trading scheme, I think these prices will go up over the long term. But right now it's a small part, maybe adding $10,000, $15,000 in operational savings a year. So at that time, we're already with a return on invest on our machine of under 1 year, which in renewable energy right now is absolutely miraculous. We're comparing this to solar, for example, at 6 to 7 years. So our customers are saving maybe 20%, and we're keeping the rest for ourselves, so we can actually operate those machineries for the next 20 years. And this is where you see why also the valuation of this company will go up very, very soon, because every machine we put down obviously has a lot of value over the next 20 years, and that's what's driving our valuation. So what markets are we looking at? That's actually one of the biggest challenge when we internally talk about what we're going to do next, because there's so much that needs to be done, and it's such a balance out of impact compared to economics. There's some markets we want to be involved with, like the biggest polluters to the oceans in the world are coming out of Southeast Asia right now. It's Indonesia, it's Thailand, it's Malaysia, also the countries where currently the waste is exported to. So we want to be here on the ground. We want to turn that waste into something useful right on site so it doesn't end up in the ocean. But that is more of an impact side. This is one of the reasons we're talking to crowdfunding investors right now, because we want to make sure sure that a technology is used for that as well. If we look at commercial markets, our R&D will always be in Germany, because I still deeply believe that German engineering really is the best in the world. We're building our back office, we're building our sales office, our supply chain out in Indonesia, where we have a lot of smart people. We have a growing market, we're very close to the Asian markets, and obviously we also have rather low labor cost. And the core markets we're introducing our technology to right now are the US, for example, or the UK, Caribbean, Japan. These are usually markets that have very high cost of waste disposal already and high energy costs, so it's a lot easier for our technology to really bring a great return to our investors. Currently, for the last 2 weeks, and this is the last point before I bring my friend Matt on here to ask me some questions, we're doing a race on WeFunder, and we're super excited about this platform because it gives us access to people like you who are truly excited about our technology, who understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And at the current moment, we're still in our first phase, raising $1 million on a convertible note at a 10 million USD strike price, and then we're going to go to another $4 million at a 25 million USD strike price. And what is that money for? I think that's super important, and you as an investor should always ask that question. As I said, we're already a little bit profitable at the current moment because we do get a lot of government contracts in, but obviously we need to spend money to reach our markets. So this is capital we can use for international market entry, to bring our technology to markets, to co-finance more government projects, and we can build sales offices, back offices here in Indonesia, and we can execute on pilots that we have around the world right now, in the Dominican Republic, for example, in Japan, in Germany, in Indonesia, so everybody gets to hear about the incredible breakthrough technology we're bringing to market. And this is it for me. I know this has been a lot of information in a very, very brief period of time. That's kind of the challenge. I can only give you a brief overview. Every technical aspect of what we're doing, we could turn into a 2-3 day summit. I don't want to bore you with this. I just hope this was a good summary for you. You feel excited about what we're doing. I'm going to bring on my oldest friend here on the island, Mr. Matt Vitamante from KGIX. Out of Los Angeles, to ask me some questions about what we're doing, since he has been seeing this project, Matt, I don't know, has been ages, right? 5 years? Matt, welcome to the stage.
Good to see you. Yeah, so Julian, as you were going through your pitch,